I'm eating some beef jerky at the moment, just because Wayne and we talked earlier. He was going to go to lunch, and I went for a run, so didn't really have time to eat anything after my run, which is always kind of risky for me because I used to get migraine headaches as a kid after I'd do performance
enhancements. I'm sorry.
That, yeah, no, any performance as in sports, where I went too hard, or if I had two games on an empty stomach on a Sunday, usually trigger some sort of migraine. So it's always kind of tricky for me. I always try to eat right before I work out, which everyone thinks I'm nuts for. When I ran a half marathon in 2018, I literally pounded a plate of food, then ran. And my parent-in-laws had a plate of food for me when I got back, just because it's more of I think in an anxiety thing where I'm man, if I push my body too hard, I can get a migraine. And I didn't want to do that, especially halfway out of that marathon, in the middle of the Joshua Tree. So it would have been I don't even know how I would have got back if that would have happened. So right now was munching on some beef jerky before I jumped on this call, just to make sure.
Is that healthy? Beef jerky?
If you get the one with low sodium, correct? Yeah, it's not bad. It's protein. So is it the best for you? It depends. If you get low sodium, no preservatives, yeah, it's fine. I mean, if you eat it nonstop, probably not. But it's probably one of the healthiest snacks you can eat while trying to do fitness goals. Beef jerky, some some yogurt with some berries that's low sugar, that's natural, Greek yogurt-ish, that type of stuff.
Chobani?
You know what? I usually get the one from Trader Joe's, which is forget what it is. It's zero low fat. It doesn't taste that great because my wife gets both. Sometimes I'll mix, because it doesn't taste amazing. But if you're trying to keep a good diet with low sugar, you go with those.
What's up, Nick from Yuma? We got double
channel.
digits in here. We'll start up in a sec. So first of all, the bicycle.
What's up, Nick from Yuma?
Oh, jeez. So the Bicycle Hotel Casino is open outdoors, and it's doing pretty well. We lost JJ for a bit.
No, we're good. My bad. I muted myself because I pulled up the YouTube chat and I didn't have it running, so my bad, guys.
And yeah, it's the setup for the bike is nice. It's outdoors. Action's good. Mostly because the Europeans are not back yet.
Are they? I heard they were putting a hard ban on them.
I have no idea, but
No, I was joking, by the way.
Oh, I don't know. I've had to change my regime. I think everybody's changed their puck regime during quarantine, and I learned a lot. In the Nick from Yuma says he misses these.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll have them more often.
We'll plan that as Live at the Bike.
I haven't been in the bike since they reopened. I haven't played live poker. I'm pretty excited. I'm getting an itch. I'll probably be playing some live poker, I would assume, in about 3 to 4 weeks. Some outdoor poker. I can't wait. I'm looking forward. If they're getting a 1025 going at the Bicycle, or if I could help put it together, if they need my help, I'll help put it together with some of our players or whatever. I just want to play in some games. You know me, I don't mind playing a 5-10-20 or a 10-20 on cap. So I'll be in the mix. I'll be playing at the bike or wherever suits the game size that I want to play.
They've been running those.
I purposely took off. I mean, I've been grinding hard, man, this pandemic pretty much. I started off slow, but since August on, I've been putting in constant hours in online
How many
poker.
hours a week?
I'm still playing about 140 hours a month. So
It's about 35 hours a week.
yeah, it feels longer sometimes though, because sometimes I'm waiting on the computer, waiting for
So you don't count. You only count your active time, but you're actually waiting by your computer. Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say per average on a month, it's probably an extra 5 to 10 hours. So let's say if it's late night and it's 1 a.m. and I'm debating on starting up a session, I'll have a few games open that I want to join. and I'll have the lobby open like on one screen, and I'll be monitoring it while I'm watching like a YouTube video. And if the game, like if a 510 or 1020 pops off with a decent player to play against, a good action player, then I'll just start up my session. So sometimes I'm playing a waiting game. Sometimes I just fire up a session. I would say it's like an extra 5 to 10 hours a month of kind of like waiting. And it's not that
It's not that bad. Yeah.
I'm just trying to I'm trying to make the most of my time also. So I don't want to play like below average games and force it. But if I can like watch a YouTube video or something to catch my interest and still monitor on the side if a game pops off, I'll do that like late night. So I'll kind of be hoovering over the games. I don't do that all day. Like if we weren't chatting right now, I probably would pop open a session for like 3 hours, 2 hours. But if the games are pretty bad, which they might be on a Monday midday,
Yeah.
I would just jump out and then try again like at 7, and then they're bad, I'll try again at 10. And I'm not forcing it. So like those 140 hours I'm putting in are like usually good hours. Yeah, they're good quality hours, which is going to be kind of tough, man. I'm going to be pretty torn also when I go back to live poker, because I've been doing very well online. You know, probably somewhere between a 5-10 good win rate and a good 10-20 win rate. Are a little below 10-20, but it's going to be hard to like also drive to the casino and not know if certain games are running, or hoping a game runs because then like the drive. But I'm looking forward to it at the same time to play bigger games. I feel like in my poker career, towards the beginning of the pandemic, I was, you know, if there was a 10-25 running at the bike, or a 10-25-50, or even there was one time when we played, it was 10-25 anti-25 straddle 100, and like I would just play in those games.
That's big.
And I was looking forward to like playing those games. I felt like a lot of my poker career, I would sit on the sideline and just grind out 5-10 and grind out 5-5 and grind out whatever other games, grind out a 10-20. If I walked by at the other casino and there was a good 10-20, I would jump in, and now I'm regretting not just like playing in all these bigger games.
It's life choice.
I mean, I'm never going to try to like grind out high stakes poker. That's just not me. But like playing those bigger games, I should have been playing for a very long time, I think, for at least the last 5-6 years.
You're still in action. A lot of these people that play high stakes aren't in action anymore. So
yeah, that's true. But one thing I'll always be in my poker career is like careful with game selection and careful with bankroll management. So like obviously if I'm playing let's say a 20-40 game that's running all the time and I just get smashed for a while, I'm not just going to keep forcing it out. I would be the person who would move down to 10-20 for a bit, or even grind out 5-10, and I would be okay with it. I'd be like, hey, my win rate sucks at these games. These guys are really good. Like, I'm definitely not going to force it. I'll pop in when there's a couple good spots, and I'll pop back out and grind the smaller games until like I'm beating this game at a good hourly. Like, I'm not going to force it. But that being said, I am super excited to play some live poker. I'm jealous when I see some posts of people playing at the bike or other places in LA, and I'm like, man, I want to play. Like here I'm grinding like super. For the most part, they're pretty tough games, or at least 3 notches tougher than the live games I'm used to playing. You got some really good regs on these sites that are pretty good.
Oh, I know. I know several people on there. I'm like, I don't really want to battle with them. I mean, that's the thing though. Like, you become a reg, you start seeing like a lot of regs. So
yeah. So I'm looking forward to just getting in the mix and like playing whatever game I can play that's like decently sized and challenge myself. And I'm looking forward to also playing some tournaments in LA too. So
what's up, Natty Wit? What's up, Eric Scott? What's up, Come Up Kid? Come Up Kid says you and I should stream. Come Up Kid's a little out of it. I am streaming. I'm streaming at least every Sunday, and then Monday at 6 p.m. on Live at the Bike, I'm showing a lot of the streams that I have special guests like Barry Greenstein, Dylan Lindy, Dylan Weissman, and I final table in every single stream. And sometimes they're pretty big scores. So what's up, Jack Black? Says, yo, it's JJ. And of course, Nick from Yuma.
Yeah, I've been I've been kind of just chilling off social media. Like I'll pop in and look at some stuff or on Twitter.
You're like, this is terrible, I'm out.
Nah, it's like I haven't been in the mood to post. I'm not really into posting some online hands that I play, although I've played some pretty crazy ones last few weeks. But like I've just been into social media posting, but I'll get back into it. I feel like a little bit my life has been a little bit on pause without playing live poker since it has
Sure.
been such a big part of my life. But then, like on the other side of the coin, being able being able to work out 5 times a week because I bought a nice dumbbell set, and then running, probably on average somewhere between 20 miles a week, which is probably like 3 to 4 mile runs a few times a week, has been helping. I have to somehow schedule that into my routine when I get back to live poker because that's like the toughest part.
Yeah.
Right now I just work on like my time. I pop in and out. I can exercise. I can do a run, but it's going to be a big change, and I'm hoping that I can like cut my degeneracy because like it's tough for me. One of the toughest things would be like to be in a good 5-10 game or playing 5-10-20, and then like it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and the game's good, and I'm like, man, I can make 3x what I would be making if I show up here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Like, how do I justify going to sleep when my hourly in this game is so good? So like it's gonna be really tough for me to like gauge that, throw in the towel sometimes in good games just to get some good night's sleep and to get some normalcy. So it's gonna be a very big challenge for me when we start playing when I start playing some live poker. But anyways, Wayne, you've been at the bike. How is it? I haven't been at the bike.
It's a very nice setup. I don't know what to say. It's very nice. I feel totally safe. Like everybody I talk to that's like more of an expert on COVID or just in general says it's really safe. And obviously, I'm not just saying that, even though I'm supposed to rep it. The one bad thing, yeah.
I stopped there twice. I stopped there when we were looking for some live at the bike stuff, and I stopped there. I had to pay people some sports bets that I lost, Clippers versus Lakers. Both times I went, I wanted to play because you felt safe. It's outside. I went, I think, one was during the day, one was nighttime.
It's packed. Like it's died down a little bit.
Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you.
Sorry?
I say go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no. It's like the only downside is that you can't eat at the tables, obviously because of regulation. So it's just really annoying to like get back, to get up and, drink water and then eat food. That's like the only downside. Other than that, it's just like totally great. And the action's better than ever.
Oh, I bet.
No euros.
Yeah, I know. It's a bittersweet relationship with them because some of them I really like. They're super nice guys, but they're just draining money out of the game. And then some of the kids, especially some of the ones at Commerce, I just do not. I shouldn't say that casino, but when I would play that casino a lot over the last few years, it would just get so annoying. There'd be like this group from, I think they're from England, and like I knew one of them was staking like 6 guys, and one time, dude, like 4 of them came to my table. It chased like 2 people. It was literally me, 4 Euro kids from probably staying in the same Airbnb, and 2 Rex. And like I literally stopped. I said, "Deal me out," and I kind of went off on them. I'm like, "Come on, guys! Like really, 4 of you guys?" They're like, "Oh, you're accusing us of cheating." I'm like, "I'm not saying you're cheating, but come on, you're obviously going to be playing softer against each other." So irritating, But I mean, that's good. But like it's bittersweet because some of these guys are super cool. Some of them, when I am playing at the bicycle, like I consider them homies. And then some of the guys are just like, ah. And some of these European kids will give action. I mean, not most of them, but some of them, they're tough, man.
They're not flying over here to, punt.
Yeah.
How much? So let's get into the discussion. Heads up hype. There's so many heads up matches, high profile heads up matches ever since quarantine. What's your heads up background?
Minimum, I would say. I would play people sometimes when the games would break for maybe 20 minutes. I played a little bit of them online. I still play them online to start games. Although, even though it's whatever to do, I kind of pick and choose who I want to play online. Like I'll sit out if a good player, or maybe I'll play like 4 hands if a good player sits. And then if a rec sits who I don't have tagged, I'll play them for longer. So I shouldn't say minimal, but I do pick and choose my battles on who I want to play against. I'm not out here like a Theodore Holes and Limitless, to one goat tournament player,
Oh, I
one
didn't
goat
even add them.
player.
I had
Um,
a, I had a bunch of people on there. I didn't even add their names on there. Let's add
Not a
the.
Galfon. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's talk about some of these heads up challenges. I mean, I would say mine is near. I wouldn't say minimum, but I probably played more than most poker players for sure, but not like a ton. Um,
So nowadays, I'm pretty political. I used to battle many different forms of heads up, like online and live. Then after Black Friday, obviously a lot of us at the other, e-commerce would just after the game breaks play, and then for a while we're just like, yeah, let's just like not play each other anymore. And then it became that I prop and work for Live with the Bike, so it's a brutal dynamic to do heads up because if you win, they just want a rematch, and then if you you lose, whatever. But it becomes a perpetual cycle, and because I'm constantly working, I can't like accommodate for rematches that easily. So I just have to say no all the time. Like, quarantine, I did play some heads up live. I'm just like, I don't want to, and they just keep insisting. I'm like, okay, but I can't if whatever happens, win or lose, like this is it. And they're like, okay, and then I'm okay with it.
yeah, I know one of the regs that I did play probably like a half an hour with was Squish My Tomato.
Shout out to
Um,
Squish.
Yeah, Squish. He was like kind of tilted. We were playing 5, 10, 20, and the game broke, and he was down. And he's like, "Dude, just play me." And I was like, "I mean, Squish is a good player. I mean, I respect his game. He's solid." And
Yeah.
I just knew he was on tilt, and I was like, "Dude, I don't." I mean, I was the one who was like, "Dude, I don't really want to play." And he's like, "Come on, dude. Like, give me a chance to get some of my money back." I don't even know if I won really any pots off him, to be honest. But I did win in the game. I think I got like the 2 wrecks in the game, like at 2 in the morning. I was like, you just tell me how long you want to play for, and it's not going to be a long time. So I think he said, let's just play for a half an hour, and I said, all right, fine. So we're like, I'll do that, even though like for me it's a kind of waste of my time, because like what's the skill edge? Then we have to dodge variance, like, you know. But these guys go in there and obviously they're in there battling, but they're also getting like endorsement deals and stuff like that. They're getting notoriety and things like that. So like if I had someone, putting me in the games, I'm not saying that they're having, people putting them in. Some of these guys may, some of these guys don't. But if you're kind of free rolling on advertisements and notoriety, I mean, that's a pretty smart business move, right? If Wayne was going to put me in to play 100, 200, where I only had to pay 20%, if I'm putting 20% of myself, which
You get
would mean
exposure,
playing like
yeah.
10, 20, and getting massive exposure, right? Or like someone like Fedor Holes, who is a GG sponsored pro. I mean, he's not. I saw his Twitter; he has full action. But like someone like that, yeah, it's pretty good for him to be in the mix, because he looks good for the website. He's helping out.
He's winning too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, man. I was watching
They're
I
all
watched
good, yeah.
20 minutes. I was watching 20 minutes today, like at the end, and he's so aggro, and like that pays off in heads up. Like when I was studying some small blind, big blinds, last few months, because that was one spot where I felt like I wasn't my best. You have to play so aggressive from the big blind once you complete against the small blind, because you have position, and especially on paired boards like a 4-4-9 board. If the small blind just c bets, you can totally just crush them because you're gonna have more fours. You have position, and they shouldn't. So like knowing that and seeing Fedor Holes just like betting over pot river and like getting limitless to fold third pair, which he has, it's just pretty incredible how quickly Fedor Holes can just like get good at heads up. I know he has good friends like Goose teaching him. But yeah, he pretty impressive. Although it's kind of like limitless, it's smaller game than he's used to. So he's kind of, I feel like, spewing in certain spots. He's not playing his best.
Folding top pair on the turn.
I didn't see that hand, but is it just like, is he not as
I don't know.
is
Like Doug,
he not as good as he thinks? Like I saw Doug Polk's tweet, which is pretty harsh, and I
Yeah.
saw Fedor talk about it. He said something like, Fedor Holes is like one of the most overrated players, and then he pretty much said limitless. Is he as
favorite,
good? Like, yeah, is he as good as he is? Like no one knows. So like, But we'll see. I think anything right now, especially during this pandemic, and like there's not too much televised poker like ours. And Poker Go has been putting out some good stuff. Shout out to Poker Go. Been enjoying their high stakes poker stuff. But like there hasn't been that much content, so it's good that these guys are getting in the mix, and battling it out. It's fun to watch too. So I didn't watch too much of D Negs and Doug Polk. Although one thing I want to say about that. Damn, man, Ryan Fee, if you follow him on Twitter, the dude is like, if you want to make some, well, yeah, he fires shots for sure. But if you want to make some money, like whatever he's betting on, just bet. Like, I remember we commentated the Heads Up stuff together, and he showed up early to the casino, and he was on a strict diet because I think he was dealing still with some like mercury poisoning and stuff. Yeah. So he was sitting behind me, and he's talking to me. He was just chatting with me while I was playing, because we've chilled a few times before that, and like, he's played on Live at the Bike, so he was just kind of chilling, and he kept talking to me about Bitcoin. This was like 2000, I don't know when the Heads Up match was, beginning 2016, like before it just rocketed up. Yeah. And I was like, and sure enough, I didn't put as much money. And then like he was tweeting about like pile your money, even though Doug is a favorite, like just pile. So like both times this guy is like really telling you to put your money somewhere. It's usually pretty good. This dude is like gonna get his money in smart. Ryan Fee is super smart guy. Like he comes off as like a troll, and he could be kind of. I mean, I really like him, but he comes off kind of like a bully. He comes off as a bully, and he's kind of mean if you're not on his side of things. But the dude is like so smart when it comes to like putting bets in and like getting his money in good. Like he's worth the follow if you don't follow him, just based on like putting some of your money where he puts his money.
Yeah, that podcast with them.
I'm a Ryan Fee fan. I like Ryan. I mean,
me too.
Somewhat of a homie because of Live at the Bike and stuff. Yeah. But I'm a fan of his as well. As I like following him on Twitter, and then we get to like somewhat work with him as well when he wants to play or he wants to do interviews here. So, I like the guy a lot. So.
Yeah. So like I'd obviously side with him on a lot of issues, or gambling / poker issues. But the thing is, I'm not in the mix and I haven't done the studying, so I just like straight up message him. I'm just like, what's going on, so I could just get some context. It's like, when Doug and Negreanu were going head to head, we knew Doug was gonna be a favorite, especially in the online arena, like a massive favorite, because you just can't replace that kind of experience playing online, just going back through hands, looking at what potentially is a mistake, finding out what you did well, what you didn't. And I think we know that Doug's team, they say that Doug even says he's the third best player in his team that he got coaching from, and then D-Negs got coaching from Matt Boyd and MJ, and they showed down with like experience plus actual experience, like the domain expertise plus the actual experience just like shows through. Heads Up is really developed since the last time I was competitive in there, and it's tough because, as I mentioned in a broadcast, the better you get, no one's going to play you. So you better be ready to like show your best and then make your money, and then no one plays you anymore.
It's very true.
So we did discuss that, I had both Daniel Negreanu and Doug Polk on. How would Daniel Negreanu do if it was live? Obviously you can't play 25,000 hands live. That would just take a couple lifetimes. But
sure. What did you say?
It was interesting because, obviously some of the live read stuff would come into play for Daniel's part, and Doug Polk said, "Oh, I'm not a live read person," and I kind of called him out a little bit. I'm like, "Look, I've played you. You have some live read in you," and then he said, "Yeah, but I'm not going to rely on that. But if there's something obvious, they'll do it," which he showed on Poker Go, laying down the second nuts to the nuts.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that hand real quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
That was such an epic hand to watch. Yeah. So, those of you guys who haven't watched it probably have a clip on Poker Go. If not, it's worth subscribing Poker Go to watch some high stakes poker. I know they're supposedly like our competitors. It's just like it's totally different. We're in LA, they're in Vegas. They put on great.
It doesn't even matter. Like all the poker content, it all helps each other. This is the issue. Like it's not. We're not competing. We're building the poker community. Whatever they do, it's awesome. It's great. It's gonna help poker. Whatever we do, that's awesome. It's great. It's gonna help poker, and it just all moves up. It's not like I don't know. It's like that's something with media. Like poker needs to grow, not like beat each other up to see who's like better. It's just get more poker out there, and then everybody grows.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. So, anyways, we'll get back to that hand, Phil Hellmuth. I believe he opens from under the gun too, since it was 7-handed with Queen 10 off, which is pretty crazy because Phil Hellmuth earlier, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it is a super loose open, even with an ante, because they're playing 200, 400, 400, I believe. It's super loose. You can pull it off in a soft table. Debatably, it was a softer table. There was James Board there, and there was Brandon Stevens, which both those guys, even though they're wrecks, they still play pretty good. They still play high rollers and stuff like that, especially Brandon Stevens. But anyways, it's a loose open mainly because Phil Hellmuth earlier on the show limp called pocket kings. Okay, he also the show before he folded to a 3-bet. He just folded ace king to a 3-bet. So like when he opens from under the gun too, I was shocked, to be honest. I'm not saying it's a bad open. I think it's a little loose even with ante, but it was kind of shocking to see him open that after he was playing so snug, right? Queen 10 suited, slam dunk open, but he opens it. James Board calls, I believe, on the button or in late position, and Doug Polk completes from the big blind with 10-7 off. Board comes out, Jack 9-8, 2 spades, check from Doug Polk, check from Phil Hellmuth, and then James Board doesn't see bet since he wasn't the initial raiser, but he puts in a bet with pocket twos. Yep. Doug Polk, I believe it was 2,000. Doug Polk makes it 7,000, and you can tell I watched his hand like 5 times because I thought it was comical. I know the actions, which is pretty rare in hands. I forget them. Even in the hands I play, I'm like, oh, what happened? Doug Polk makes it 7,000, and Phil Hellmuth rips 100,000. So this is from the guy who limp called kings, right? It's almost like not to bang Phil, but it's like he's playing like a strategy that's like old man coffee type. Like he's just waiting for a big hand and just piling, right? So like if you know he's playing this passive, then it's like what else does he have? James Board folds. Doug Polk's brain is in the blender, as I like to say. He's in the I forget my other saying, brain in the blender, something else. But it's been a while since I commentated. So his brain's in the blender. It's crazy. Phil Hellmuth almost looks like he wants to laugh, although Doug Polk can't see because he knows how bad he's torturing Doug Polk here. And then Phil Hellmuth starts to give stuff away. I think Doug Polk still folds if Phil Hellmuth doesn't say anything. But once Phil starts talking, Doug just knows. He makes a couple comments. Doug says, help me out here, Phil. What do you got? And Phil Hellmuth says, well, I could have a set. And yeah, I guess he could. He's also, I don't think he says that, if he has a set. And I don't even know if he jams there. I think he might raise. And then the second one, which gave it away from our guy, Zachary Alwood. So let's give him a shout out, Zachary Alwood's book, and Cyrus Namani. Actually, I talked to Cyrus about this. One of his big verbal tells in the book is discounting our range. So like if you are a bluffer and you discount your range, it's like usually always value. A bluffer never wants to be figured out. So his second comment, Phil Hellmuth says, well, I can't have the blockers. I can be on a draw. I can have the ace 10 of spades, the blockers, something like that. And if he was bluffing, if he had really the blockers, if he was really on a draw, would he say that? In Zachary Alwood's book, he says bluffers never do that. In the live arena, when people do that to me, I'm like, oh no, you're never bluffing, because if you were bluffing, bluffers never want to be figured out. Someone who is stealing from someone is never gonna poke them and be like, yeah, I'm stealing from the cashier, right? They're gonna be like, no, everything's good. So like once Phil Hellmuth says those things, Doug Polk, from already probably maybe folding his hand, I think he still folds, but this is just now like, oh man, like this. And it was an impressive, incredible fold. Greatest fold of all time? I don't know. I mean, he saved 100K. On TV, it's probably one of the biggest folds of saving money of all time, probably. If it's the greatest fold of all time, I don't know, man. I've seen some incredible folds by Garrett or by Gary Rayner or by other people on our show that are like even sicker, where someone folds kings to aces on the river and saves 40K in a spot that they should never as well, versus a capable opponent. So, I mean, obviously, I love watching it. It's so great seeing. I mean, that episode was jam packed. I mean, it was probably one of the sickest put together poker shows of all time. You know, they had Phil Ivey, which I guess he wasn't feeling good, so he left after a couple hands. Had Phil Hellmuth, had John Andres, who's played on our show. I think he's absolutely great. It had Tom DeWan and James Board, Brandon Stevens, and I'm forgetting one other person who was. Oh, and another pro that was there. Oh, and Bryn Kinney. Like, that lineup is so sick, and like that's like my favorite part of poker. Like, when I was putting together, producing games for, what did I produce games? I didn't produce games that long, maybe 6 months on Live at the Bike. I always liked to
thought it
put
was
some.
longer, but anyway.
I think it was from March of 2019 to October you took over. So when I was I think time might be off a month or two, but when I was producing games, you know, every producer gets to put together games how they want, and you've been doing a great job putting Maria Ho with Garrett and Andy. Like, I love those. But when I took over, because like everyone has their own style before we know who was producing games for us, then they told me, let's see what you can do. And mine was like, I want to put some pros and I want to put some recs, because that's what I like watching. I don't want to see all recs, because then me as a poker player, I don't get anything out of it. I don't want to see all pros, because that's kind of, it's awesome.
It's the folding stations.
No, it's awesome sometimes, because then you can pick up some things, but it's not real poker. Like, it's not the poker that I like to play, or it's not the poker I like to see. I can see it in like a high roller once in a while. Oh man, you get to see some of the best. Let's see it. But the poker that I like to see regularly is a poker that I play at the casino. You got some pros, you got some recs. Let's mix it up. You see some crazy shit. You see some pros like doing some good stuff. You see some pros failing at a bluff. You see some pros souls failing at stuff. Then you see some recs punt off, lose their mind, and it's all what you see in a regular game. And that's what I like to see. That's what I like to produce. So this high stakes episode was perfect. You even see James Board, like, who I've seen recs in our games and at the casino, start complaining about pros. Like, he loses a pot and he's like losing his mind. Get this guy out of the game. There's 4 pros in a row, and it's funny how he counts the 4 pros. He didn't. I don't know if he counted Tom DeWan as a non-pro or Phil Hellmuth as a non-pro, but there was 5 pros in a row, and I think he says, "No, Phil, you're good to stay, dude. You're not a pro," or something like that. It was crazy. I don't know if it was Phil or he said, "Tom DeWan, you're not a pro," because Tom DeWan gives action. He's like, "No, I don't consider Tom a pro," or something like that. But James Board was losing his mind because he was tilted. You know, if you saw that hand before, he had pocket 8s. Or pocket 7s flop top set, and then river was an ace, and John Andres had aces and river the set. So I like that mixture of some recs, you know, some craziness, some pros, clash, and then that makes for a perfect game, in my opinion. And you did a good job of that too. You always put some pros in there, or you put some vloggers in there, and then you put in some recs. You put in, you know, Uncle Abe, like some of the fan favorite recs, you know, Julie Yorn. The recs that people like to see, Israeli Ron, battle against like the top pros, and it's always fun to watch, you know?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get back online and try to get that going. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I was watching Doug Polk and Mike Brady analyze the hand too, and then pocket 2's actually, I guess, not having a spade. 2's is supposed to bet in that spot at a high frequency.
No way.
That's what Doug said. And
No
he
way.
said, like,
Multi-way?
yeah, and then at that
Man, I guarantee if I pull up even Snowy real quick, deuces are not supposed to bet there. But all right, Doug's
whatever. I'm literally just regurgitating what Doug and Mike Brady said.
Yeah, go ahead.
And like not having the deuce of spades in the hand like actually increases the bet. Increases the chance of betting, or increases the frequency. I don't know, because the thing is, like, I've told you guys, I'm not totally up to date with the theoretical, but I have been playing a lot of No Limit Hold'em since quarantine, and a lot of people I ran into were like, I didn't even know you played No Limit Hold'em. I'm like, well, career-wise, I've won the most in No Limit Hold'em.
Okay, so let me now rethink the situation because now you kind of spiked my interest in this hand. So the board is Jack 9-8,
Yeah.
two spades. So who has range advantage there?
Clearly, Phil Hellmuth is the pre-flop aggressor, but he also checked.
I don't know. I don't know if he does actually. I kind of understand why they say deuces should bet at a frequency. I don't think it's as high as you're regurgitating, or
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Doug said that deuces is a bet at a high frequency in that spot.
at a high. Okay, so I'm thinking it's because the button's flatting range really looks like, that board. It has
does, yes.
it has the queen tens, it has the queen jacks, it has the flush draws, it has the king queens for the two overs and the gut shot.
Let me correct my statement. Before Phil Hellmuth doesn't act, he should have range advantage. But once he checks, potentially, he usually doesn't have queen 10 in that spot. So once he checks, then the button should have range advantage.
Yes, and Phil Hellmuth should be balanced there with checking aces and kings on that board as well.
Yeah.
Like if I have aces, that's such a shitty board versus button and big blind. If I have aces with the ace of spades, I am probably more inclined to check since I'm not worried about a spade rolling off on the turn. And if I have aces without a spade, I'm checking aces there at a high frequency and calling turn and river unless the board just gets like
four-liner.
Four card straight. But like aces is a really good check there for button to overvalue his hand. Queen jack, king jack, ace jack, jack with the straight draw, some flush draws, and then especially if you have ace with the spade, just check call, check call, check call. And if the turn comes spade or river comes spade, you can just check call because you got the removal card. So, but yeah, actually that's interesting. It's like I saw that bet and initially I was like, okay, that's pretty bad. Like
that's what Mike Brady said and Doug countered. The thing is, I don't know what the latest common software and the latest custom software says, because those all make a big difference. Like when you're the one actively like crushing the games with the software that nobody else has and the group that nobody else has, the public's not in the know. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a Monker solver thing, I think. Like that's a lot of post flop stuff.
Either way, like it has a lot of whatever. What Doug said is probably game theory optimal for the latest software, and it has a lot to do with the players involved. So with the players involved, I would have suspected that Phil Hellmuth doesn't have queen 10 off in his range, and he would potentially check ace king, ace queen, aces, maybe c-bet kings, queens, jacks. I don't know. So maybe he deuces a bet just to deny equity, because Phil Hellmuth would potentially check fold ace king, maybe even ace queen. So I don't know.
Well, ace queen has the
gut shot, but the gut shot and the overcard. But Phil Hellmuth in particular, we've seen him play for almost 20 years. I'm pretty sure he's check folding ace queen out of position there.
I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know. This is poker. We just never know. I know you and I like to give a lot of breadth of room for options. So I don't know.
Yeah. Overall, some good poker to be talked about. That's funny that little spot on the river, and that just shows you how like crazy poker strategy is that like me and you are really debating uses on a jack.
I'm regurgitating what the games that I'm playing in now. Like I tell the audience and I tell you guys, I don't really play online high stakes competitive anymore. One, I know like at least half the people I'd be playing against, and I know they put in a lot more work. So I'll screw around a little bit and I'll play live. And live is just like, exactly who you're up against and the game conditions. So you can have like this best guess. We've been in the live streets. You've been around like over 10 years. I'm like almost at 20. You just make your best guess, and potentially you could have a really high accuracy. And it has like very little to do with game theory. It's just the players, the situation you're in. How do you justify this bluff is going to get off? I know so. And we had this conversation about blockers. Like, blockers is a thing, but I feel like in the live arena, when you know who your opponent is, it's less of a thing because you're just like, yeah, I obviously want the blockers, but it's kind of like, is this guy going to hero me or is this guy going to full? So in the games that, you know, I'm in now. So
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is
it's definitely a thing. I'm not denying that. I just think they're overrated. If you know
you're
where
skewing towards, does this guy overcall or overfold on River?
I think that's more important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's something like it's really tough to balance in game, you know?
It is.
It's like it's we'll see when I get back to live poker, but that's going to be something that I'm going to have to rebalance. I had to like not relearn, but I had to like do, you know, change my strategy for online poker, and I'm doing quite well, and then I'm going to have to do the same thing, you know, for live poker. And
it's like riding a bike. You'll be fine. At the beginning of quarantine, or even in the last year or so, you know me, I've had a little chip on my shoulder for a no limit hold'em, and got me back in the streets. I was maybe rusty for like an hour, and then I'm back in the mix, and I feel fine. I don't want to battle all the super studied high stakes guys, but I feel fine about you know, holding my own. But yeah, we're talking about heads up challenges, the Galfond challenge. We had these podcasts like a half a year ago when the Galfond challenge was going on. I said all these new school kids, yeah, they can be technically more skilled than the old school players, but the old school players have like that have been around and survived, like Phil Galfond, Garrett, you know, they Andy and Dan Zach and all them. They have all these tricks up their sleeves that they can't be taught. Like, you need to experience them. You need to figure them out yourselves. And I feel like, you know, Phil Galfond opening more than GTO on the button means he understands pot limit Omaha better, and he just showed by just like crushing. Even he was buried against Venuvidi and just like came back. You always need cards. It's really hard to win when you're not dealt winning hands, but you know.
Yeah, same with Chance Cornet too. Chance was up a bunch too. Chance is like one of the better no limit tournament players. Probably, I haven't seen him in too many cash games, but I'm sure he's a star in cash games. I know he's very one of the best things that people. I know some of his students. I know quite a few of his students, and they say that his reading ability is sick. You know, so I don't want to say who his students that told me that are, but yeah,
there are a lot of good players out there. I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna give some quick shout outs real quick. Nick from Yuma, since I haven't said anything to you. Jack Black, what's up? Alex, the come up kid. Eric Scott says, Wayne, what's up? Natty Witt, what's up, Natty? Who else is in the mix? Natty Witt's Metal Doctor, SS Thag, and Steve Sowif, what's up? Yeah, I wasn't following. You know, I'm not a Pialo guy, so I haven't been following too much of Galfond's challenges, other than like it's crazy that some people thought he was kind of done in the streets and he still beats everybody, right?
I comment on this, like a lot of the old school players that have stuck around in high stakes, especially if they retired willingly. Like for me, like I went broke like year 11, so I was forced out of action. But like the guys that retired willingly, all they need to do is just get in the mix, like study with the latest stuff and just like battle. Like poker's, if they were proven in the past, they could, you know, compete. Like there's something about like putting in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years that you're just a lot wiser and you've seen a lot more than these guys just like, you know, studying.
For sure.
So, and a lot of these guys, they're wiser about game selection. They don't battle against the best. They're like, you know, like Phil Hellmuth playing in private games, you know.
I mean, that guy's got it. That guy's got it so made, man. Like, you know, he plays in those Silicon Valley home games and with Chamath and all those guys, and you see Chamath is a lot better than when I saw him on Poker Night in America a few years back. So these smart guys, they get good.
They get good really fast. Yeah,
I'm sure Phil is helping Chamath out too. You know, so it's like a relationship where Chamath helps him with some probably business ideas, and Phil helps him out with you know, some poker, and that's why they're good buddies. And Phil Hellmuth gets in these probably crazy Silicon Valley games where, like, even if even if Phil looks like he's doing some crazy stuff and it doesn't work, you know that white magic style works really good against recreational players. That white magic style of mainly having value making some big laydowns because these wrecks are not going to be putting on big bluffs, and then going with his white magic towels. That works so good.
They do make big bluffs though.
Well, yeah, but that in these games, I'm sure they want to bluff Phil Hellmuth, but Phil's so smart, man.
He is.
So smart. People don't give him enough credit. If you top dog versus the solver guys, it's a different game. It's like playing heads up.
Totally different game. Yeah.
But is he top dog versus the top dogs? No, because he doesn't play solver based poker. Is he top dogs in any game that he plays in that's like 5-10, 10-20 below, or these home games that replicate a 5-5 game, like these rec heavy games in these Silicon Valley games? They probably play at a 2-3 skill level, I would assume. And not to bang on those guys because I have no clue, but I can only imagine that these rich business guys are not focused on poker. They are focused on their business, and they come to gamble. And Phil is like literally Michael Jordan in these games. He's probably the only professional player in these games to top it off.
Likely.
So
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I have no clue, but I would assume, they're not just letting anyone in those games. They want the business guys, they get the pro athletes, and then they get the poker players that are have something. Yeah, they have something to give. They're there. The business guys are there to have fun. They're not just gonna bring some unknown super pro to come clean up. No, if they're gonna invite a pro, they're gonna invite a pro that also gives back. And Phil Hellmuth definitely gives back in his antics. And I heard an interview where Chamath says, Phil comes to our games, but he also helps all of us out. He'll literally talk to us through hands afterwards on what we did bad, what we did good. So he's also teaching while he's playing, which is pretty awesome. And something that I hate at the table when someone goes, hey, how did I play my hand? Hey, Wayne, what do you think about that turn? You're nicer than me, but I never play poker. I never talk poker at the table. I try to change the subject real quick. I know
it's tough in our spot, and it's just really tough. And I say, I'm streaming on my channel now. I say you can ask me anything on stream, off stream, or at the table. I got to be a little stricter with things. But one of the worst things is when two pros at the table get into an ego battle and argue about hands and strategies at the table. Then you just can't get those guys to shut up because they each want to be right about what they're doing and what they say. So whatever. I think part of it too is just you got to have other things. Now that we have Live at the Bike going for us, we're not as vulnerable as vanilla pros anymore. Vanilla pros, dude, it's rough, man. The only people who have it rougher than vanilla pros are the dealers. They can get booted out of the game. I mean, I've already been soft banned and booted out of some.
You gotta give, right? You gotta give. You gotta give personality. You gotta give action. You gotta give something. You gotta be if you're not a plus for the game, if you're winning a bunch of money, you gotta make yourself a plus in the game somehow. Whether it's personality, whether it's having conversations with the business guys that are there for fun. Win or lose, you got to make sure they're having fun. Can't just be taking from poker, I think.
Did you watch Phil Hellmuth versus Esfandiari?
I did not watch that, but I know Phil beat him 3 times, right?
Yeah, Phil won 3 times. I had Esfandiari as a good friend, and I had him as a favorite because obviously the televised hands that we see from the way back in the day, Esfandiari just owns Hellmuth. Even though Esfandiari was dealt a lot of winners too.
Very small sample size. What is it?
Very small.
Probably 75 hands, probably, in sit and go style, which makes it even more gamble.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Phil Hellmuth with the sit and go styles, just tournament styles, and the more he personally knows his opponent, or it's weird because poker with him is an ego battle. But if he could get his opponents to get an ego battle with him, he could wind up ahead a lot. It's weird. That's maybe a little bit where his white magic comes from. I don't know, but anyway, I had Esfandiari as a favorite, which a lot of people did, and some people had Hellmuth's favorite, and Hellmuth came out ahead. But I think Hellmuth's very good in that format, and Esfandiari, it's been known predominantly to be more of a cash game player, although he has obviously amazing tournament success, being I think top 3, if not number 1 in tournament earnings. So, Doug Paul versus Daniel Negreanu. We talked about that a
we
little bit.
yeah I think we talked about that already. I wish I would have bet some money on that thing. And once you realize how long 25K hands is, you see Doug Polk's value there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of one thing. One thing I didn't like is how much these guys kind of like, whined. I don't know how much.
About luck.
I don't know. Yeah, about luck or who's running luckier, because like it kind of. I'm like torn apart on that aspect because it's like, yeah, you want players to act like emotional, it makes the game fun, right? I don't know how much they built it up for, just like, ramping up audience. But like it's kind of like poker's still a gentleman game at the same time. So like you kind of want to see like, all right, this like be humble in victory and defeat, and then like so I don't know how much they played it up. And I could be wrong about this as well.
I don't know the answer because I remember after watching poker like 15 years ago on television, we're just like, oh, these guys are like have such bad manners, and then whenever it becomes good mannered, then it becomes boring to watch.
Exactly. That's why I'm torn apart. I'm torn. Is it a gentleman's game, or do we want to see the antics? And then is it okay for these guys to be complaining about how bad they run? Because then now all these people who've been watching them play the last few months are going to be even complaining more about how bad they run and telling bad beats. So like I'm torn. I don't know where to go with this, Wayne.
I think anything to bring attention to poker that's like not sketchy, like showing poker in a sketchy light, anything that's like not sketchy, anything else to draw attention to poker is good.
Oh, I agree with you on that. So that's why I'm torn. I don't know if it was good or bad how much these guys complain, but obviously, good or bad, them playing this match was like A+ for poker.
Way the hell up there. It's just like, and Doug Polk's not even new school. Like he's like your generation. We're talking a generation before me, and the whatever come up during like 2010. Bill Perkins versus Landon Tice.
That's a crazy one.
So I think it's pretty public. Like Berkey and Soto, or maybe Solver Wine General, is backing Landon. Like period, not just this. So
yeah, I heard that too.
And they weren't like particularly thrilled about this matchup, which is like, yeah, because even if you are a winning player in this setup, like what's your hourly?
For sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either. So
I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't gamble. This is me personally. I don't know how good Landon is. I have never played with Landon.
Everybody says he's amazing. Everybody, I talk to people that we all highly respect, and they all say he's very good. But we all know poker too. If you're dealt a ton of losing hands, or you play at your means, or you get outplayed too much,
I just know that 9 big blind, and Landon can be amazing, cannot be as amazing as people say. It's just hard to overcome the 9 big blinds. He's basically giving them, was it like 900K in EV? Like that's crazy to come up no matter how good you are. Even if you're Dan Zach playing Bill Perkins. Dan Zach's a very good player, Dan gets like in this game theory milkshake that he's just GTO, but Dan could play exploited too. He's going to make deviations obviously too. So like yeah. If Dan was doing this and he asked me like, hey, you want to buy some action, I'd probably be like, I'll pass on this. That's just me personally. Like I'm not going to take like, then again, I'm the person who invests in the S&P 500 for my my retirement stuff. I'm not buying Tesla, or I'm not buying even though I should
Tesla.
Apple and all these different stocks that like you should have in your portfolio, but I'm just like betting on the 500 biggest companies in the United States, right? I'm gonna go with like the just kind of my style. I'm gonna go with like the shorter return but the less gamble, so like I'm not gonna like take this gamble.
I compliment you guys, like Ronnie Barta is one of them, where he's clearly a favorite in these massive games, because I've been in there. I'm like, why aren't you playing? Like, and he's just like, no man, I'm cool. And now he just gets third place in WPT. I don't know how much I want to spill his business, but he's flipping over like basketball cards and baseball cards. He's just like killing it. I don't know what to say.
How much did he win in the WPT?
400, somewhere in between 400 and 500K.
Jesus.
I had him on a podcast too. He's super nice guy, super good guy.
I don't know him that great. Just very few interactions with him at the bike. But I know when he got back, did his TV stuff already
Yeah, he was on Survivor. He had
Okay, I don't know how much I could say, but I know right after he was filming, I think it was when I was producing, he just got back, and someone introduced me to him. And before that, I would just see him in the casinos, and I knew he was like a pro or a limit pro, but I didn't know he was going to be on TV. And I just told him, yeah, let me know whenever you want to play on the show. We would love to have you. And he's like, yeah, I got to wait till this stuff airs for TV first because I already
we got plans. We got plans. We're going to try to get him and Miss Finland back on.
Yeah, that was that pretty epic hand that you sent to me on PokerStars.
I knew him long before that hand. So when he talked about the hand, people were talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. And then I YouTubed. I'm like, oh snap! Second most viewed poker hand on
How did
YouTube.
you put that hand, man?
All the pros said it was correct. I don't know.
Nah, I'm just kidding. It seemed fine.
I don't know. Yeah,
It seemed fine. You don't think that someone who doesn't play poker much is just gonna blast like that. You just don't, you know. You just worry that they're overvaluing their hand. But yeah. Let's see, Wayne, did you pull up those hands by any chance that I sent you the global ones?
Oh no, we're gonna do that in a future one because like I gotta test the software. But guys, JJ and I are gonna review hands like that he and I played to get back in the mix for poker, and we've had a lot of interesting hands. I've had Dylan Weissman, Dylan Lindy, and stuff like that analyze a bunch of hands, and like, I'm in the tournament mix now. Never thought that would happen, but.
Oh yeah, let's see. Are you going to be playing some?
I'm playing every Sunday. I'm probably going to be streaming.
No, but I mean, like, when the live tournaments come on about in LA, are you going to play some live MTTs?
Yeah, that was the plan. I think I talked to you about this like 6 months ago or even a year ago. I did plan on doing it, but the thing is, you know how it is. Like when we're busy, I'm low on energy, so I'm going to try to reserve energy to play in some of the bigger ones, the higher profile ones, because I kind of regret not doing that in like the last 20 years. Like I didn't want notoriety, but now that with Live with the Bike, I kind of want and need cred. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's part of the reason I'm getting in the mix. And wow, like it's really eye opening. I did not optimize, and I'm not optimal now, but like I really realized I did not optimize my poker career, even in my peak playing condition. And now I'm doing a better job at it, and hopefully we'll do a better job at it. And let me tell you guys, an optimal poker career is not ramming your head into no limit hold'em high stakes cash. I'll tell you that.
What did Blake say about you, that you were like a richer Andy at one point?
Yeah.
Okay,
when I played
or less Andy.
Rich or Andy, like Rich San Diego Rich or Andy, like that's the thing. Him labeling that
you were like a richer version of Andy at one point.
No. He was talking about Rich, like the Korean Rich from San Diego, or Andy.
Okay. Wait, Rich from San Diego?
The Korean Richard.
Yeah. I play. I play with them a bunch in.
He commented on that because like, Live with the Bike wasn't broadcasting, but you could see like old school like Bryce Yockey and Zach Freeman. All of us were like straight animals. Like we'll just like take two cards of the streets, and we could do that. We could get away with that in the era because GTO wasn't as big as it is in this era. Now there's just very difficult to get away with what we used to.
Bryce is pretty sick, man.
Bryce is sick. Very smart guy.
He's pretty sick, dude. He's pretty crazy. I like his style.
He's very smart, and like what tilts me the most is like, even as of March last year, so even as a year ago, somebody I know was like, that guy's a fish. Like talking to Bryce when he was playing on live, like, are you insane? Like how do people get away with this? How does he get away with this?
Well, the same thing when Garrett first started playing on Live at the Bike. People, just because he plays like a psycho sometimes, people are like, no, he's bad. Or he's
part of it's winning. The way he acts, or the way they act too. Like something they do just like gets people to think that they're just like not nearly as good as, or I really don't understand. Because like I've been discussing this with like a lot of people, because when I walk in, people say I'm not a fish, and like I may not even be the best player. I could be in the same table as Bryce, and they'll be like, "Oh, that Bryce guy's." I'm like, it's really frustrating. But Bryce is my friend. I don't want to blow his cover, So.
Don't go with the backpack, Wayne, or a satchel or anything that
I don't.
And I think once in a while when you do a crazy move, just show it. I think that's what they probably do really
I
good.
do. That's the thing. I do go like ham pre-flop and
No, I know you
like
do, but just show it. Like show
I
it. Go ham against the right opponent that you know, like this spot they're always folding or over folding. Like let's say there's 300 in the pot, and you know this guy just doesn't have it. Just bet 800, and like just show the hand. But it has to be a spot where you know they're folding for sure. Like they're already lifting up their cards or something. Boom, do something crazy, show the hand, and that's how they. I mean, but dude, Bryce does play pretty crazy. Like obviously he's a big crushing player. Like anyone who doesn't think Bryce is like really good is nuts. But I blew his cover, even though I haven't played that much poker with him.
Nobody's gonna watch this. The people he's playing against are not gonna watch this, so it's okay.
Like even like yeah, like I've seen him play some wild hands where like it looks like he's just a blaster, which I know he's not doing that all the time, but like he's also giving action. That's why people like playing with him. Like I've heard of from like people who deal home games. They're like, dude, that guy just like came and blasted. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, he's probably just doing it because he's getting some advertisement or something. I mean, or he just likes to blast sometimes, So, but all right, you ready to wrap this up then?
All right, we're gonna wrap this up, guys. So in the future, we're gonna have hand reviews of me and JJ live with the bike players of like 6 spots, and there's one I showed you the ace ten of diamonds hand, right? That I had like a week or 2 ago. And I final tabled. I was 4 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
So what was interesting about that, and this will be the last thing I do, I asked a lot of pros in different generations, and literally there were like a wide variety of answers. That's what's like crazy about this hand. So Dan, Zach, Dylan, Lindy, Harbs, like a ton of people like gave me feedback. So we'll be really good to talking about that hand.
How lucky are you to just like reach out on like a small stakes tournament and then like everyone gives you feedback? That's just
it's so nice. But yeah,
that's like
I had a
dude,
hard.
You'll learn tournaments even faster than the rate you are, especially once you start playing live. Because like in the live arena, there's like 15-minute breaks every 2 hours, and then you just walk up to like Dylan, Lindy, or Dan, Zach, and like, hey, can I run? Like after you talk to them a little bit, can I ask you about a spot? And they're always just they like you, so they're gonna be like, okay, Wayne, let's hear your spot.
I mean, they all compliment that I'm asking like really good questions, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I'm learning so much. I'm not gonna ask like stupid questions, obviously, but like a lot of them like look potentially like stupid questions to the outside, but they're actually like really deep. Like this one, like I'm 4 to 6 on the final table. I have ace nine of diamonds. What do you do in this spot? A billion answers. But yeah, all right, we'll get to that hand and a bunch of other stuff. So stay tuned, guys. We're gonna ramp up these podcasts with JJ and I, and hopefully they'll be enjoyable. And see you guys at the bike.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in a week or so.
That's good.
All right, bye.